I feel bad now, I gotta react. This happened, oh, I gotta do that. A reaction is an emotional state of being. But when it comes to just bad news or certain setbacks where there's not an immediate need to react, a response is better. Things happen. On your way up, more often negative things are gonna happen than positive. But the compounding interest of positive activity over the long run overcomes all the negative things that happen. I don't feel like working out, we'll do it anyways. Man, this is hard, we'll do it anyways. Oh, my body's tired, we'll do it anyways. Oh man, it's too early, I need more rest, just do it anyways. Right? I'm not saying kill yourself, but doing hard things builds that reinforced mental circuitry in your brain, the reticular activating system, that builds resiliency. Yo, what's up everybody? This is the N2N podcast and I'm your host, Dr. N2N, also known as Ninja or Prolific Ninja on my socials, by my family and friends, and because my fans are my friends, you can call me Ninja too. This is the N2N podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end of my life, motivation, drive, success, self-improvement, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Back in the studio, it's been a whirlwind. Recently did consecutive back-to-back presentations on PFAS, which is the forever chemical, in San Antonio and then also in Fort Lauderdale, explaining the science, the reasons why PFAS matters and why it's been linked to so many cancers. And so in that whirlwind, gosh, so much news to share. But before we get into the podcast episode, if you're new to the show or if you've been listening for a while, you know I'm a physician, a lawyer, business guy. Have had my law firm, my practice in Houston for almost now 23 years. We've helped thousands of clients recover millions of dollars in settlements, and we are continuing to grow and expand that practice. Also have different tech projects or businesses in health tech, blockchain, all these things that I will tell you about. But before we get into that, I'm going to start the show as I start every day, which is when I wake up, I thank God and the universe for another day to be grateful, another day to be blessed, another day to live to my fullest controllable potential, to inspire just one person to live to their fullest controllable potential. And why is that? Because gratitude is one of the most authentic vibes you can have. There's no way to feel gratitude and a negative impulse or a negative feeling at the same time. So why not wake up every morning or start this show with good vibes in gratitude? So with that, I want to thank you all for following, liking, commenting, and especially sharing this show. We don't grow this show without you all because I do this on my own time, on my own dime, no sponsors, right? So the only way this grows to several tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of viewers, which we're approaching, is through y'all's efforts in sharing this show, the short form, the long form. So with that, I want to thank you all. If you're new to the show, we do this on a energy barter exchange, which is if you learn something from the show, right? I believe the universe balances out, which means you've gotten a credit. So you got to bring that back to me. You got to repay it some way, and we do that through a karmic exchange, which means if you learn something from this episode or any other episode, share the show. That's how you repay the debt. If your knowledge swell, share the show. That's how we grow. That's our expression here. So if you learn something today or in any other episode across the last almost 3 years, share the show and repay that debt or visit any of the projects that I'm working on. Again, going back, pfasinjuryattorney.com. So if you know anybody with cancer, please refer them to the site. curaconnector.com. If you know anybody that needs home care, outpatient care, go to that site. LegacyXToken.com and purewallet.ai. Those blockchain projects, if you know people in crypto, send them there, and that's how you can also rebalance the karmic exchange. So with that, despite the good news and all the positivity and traveling and spreading the word on PFAS cancer, meeting new people, networking, finding business opportunities, collaborations, all these positive, growing momentum type actions and activities to get me to my goals. In all of that, what happened? We still get bad news. We still get bad news sometimes through the course of all of that, right? And so the question or the topic of today's episode is, how do you deal with bad news or setbacks or things that have a negative connotation or potentially negative impact in what you're doing? A hindrance to your momentum, a hindrance to your growth, an obstacle essentially that gets in your way. How do you do it? Well, I wear this shirt on purpose. A lot of the times I do my podcast with messages on my shirts. If you really tie into it, I like little, what do you call them? Little rabbit eggs, little eggs. Easter eggs, that's what I'm saying. Little Easter eggs, just like in the movies and stuff. So I leave little Easter eggs in my podcast episodes. And so there's a sign in my office, and it's an expression that I've always lived by from a very young age. It is what it is. Okay? An easy expression, but very hard to implement, because when you get to the it is what it is, right, now you're able to respond versus react. And I forget what episode that I talk about it, but there's a huge difference between response and reaction. So response, or let me start off, a reaction is an emotional state of being, right? Obviously, there are things to react to. If you're getting if you feel a physical threat, you got to react. You got to respond quickly, right? But when it comes to just bad news or certain setbacks where there's not an immediate need to react, a response is better. A reaction is usually an emotional elicitation, just a quick, I feel bad now, I got to react. This happened, I got to do that. It's not a well thought out response. A response is what I just said. It's a thought out course of action, plan of action to respond to any type of external activity or stimulus, right? It's thought through. Versus a reaction, which is a very emotional, visceral thing. And oftentimes, acting on reaction puts you in a worse outcome than a thoughtful approach, which is a response. So when you go to it is what it is, I love that expression because it removes the reaction and puts you in a state of thoughtfulness, right? It is what it is. Bad news, whatever, client's upset. You might have been served with a lawsuit. There might be some litigation pending. You might have gotten fired. You might have gotten a bad review. You might have missed the cut on a sports team, or you might have lost the game after you practiced so hard. All these things that can come up in a sea of good news and positivity, things happen. It always happens. On your way up, more often negative things are going to happen than positive, actually. It's the leaps in the daily grind of positivity that compounds the interest. The negativity you can address along the way, but the compounding interest of positive activity over the long run overcomes all the negative things that happen. And so when you look at things as it is what it is, you remove emotion out of it, and you look at it from an objective, thoughtful, responsive approach. And why does that matter? Because your actions based out of emotion, fear, anger, greed, you're upset, frustration, sad, disappointed, whatever. Those are not the wiring in your brain, the neurotransmitters, the chemotactic factors, all these things going on in your head often leads you to the wrong decision. Again, this is not like an imminent threat kind of situation where you're about to get physically harmed. That's fight or flight. But just bad news, bad situations, if you start thinking, you break up with somebody, your partner, whatever, those immediate responsive reactions confuses the issue. It makes you reach out in 1,000 different directions without any focalized point of attack or response. And so when you look at things as it is what it is, it just is. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no fear, there's no anger, there's no disappointment. It just is. It just is. And so you remove that overlayer of reactivity, which is very, very hard to do. Very, very hard to do because we are emotional beings. We're all human. And I'm not saying be a robot. And what I'm talking about actually is very much into Stoicism. If you look into those, Marcus Aurelius books, there's a ton of it about Stoicism. But it's just look at things very factually. And maybe that's because I'm a lawyer and these are the facts, ma'am, right? Whatever that show was, these are the facts, just the facts. Give me the facts. Don't overlay things with, well, I think it's me that, I feel like they're doing this. No. What are the facts? Just bottom line it for me. It is what it is. And so when I get the bad news, just give it to me. Lay it on heavy and give me the bad news so that I can objectively deal with it, because it just is. And so that is a mindset that you have to work on. And how do you get to the point of just accepting things as they are? Okay? How do you get to this framework of when you get bad news, it's just is, and then formulate a response, not a reaction? Well, that primarily comes from experience. Of course, we get put through a lot, but if you haven't lived a long enough professional career to have that type of experience, how do you get there as a young person on the up? You just got to do hard things. Simple as that. Because when you do hard things and still do it, there's actually a system, a rewiring in your brain. It's like exercise. When you work out, you're like, I don't feel like working out. We'll do it anyways. Man, this is hard. We'll do it anyways. Oh, my body's tired. We'll do it anyways. Oh, man, it's too early. I need more rest. Just do it anyways. Right? I'm not saying kill yourself, but doing hard things builds that reinforced mental circuitry in your brain, the reticular activating system, that builds resiliency and understands that you just objectively look at things without overlaying a negative frequency or vibration on top. It basically takes the bitch voice out of your head and you just approach things as they are. So when you get bad news and you're feeling pity for yourself, you already have built a sense of resiliency to not overlay emotion on top. And you just start handling things. Fasting is a great way to build that resiliency. I'm hungry. I feel like I got to eat. But you just attack it and just is what it is. I can't eat. I'm not going to eat. Right? For whatever reason, people fast. Right? By taking that feeling out, now you're being objective. And when you're objective, you can just accept it is what it is and accept the negative, bad, quote, bad news that is in front of you. And now you can objectively, rationally, clearly think through a pathway of response. Again, when you're reacting, all those chemical neurotransmitters it's just jumbled in your brain. Your adrenaline comes up now, you're breathing heavy, your heart rate's fast. No one can think clearly in those scenarios unless you're trained to. But if you're trained to do that, that means you're actually not reacting, you're responding. That circuitry you build on it. So you get to, you work on it and it comes faster and faster and faster every time, right? In the very first instances, you're trying to build this it is what it is mentality. The first time, it might take you a while. You might really get hyped up and want to react, but that's when you have to turn the trigger on to slow it back down, right? You're going to hype and then slow it back down. Now, people that, like myself, that are able to accept bad news quickly and start thinking things through much more, almost instantaneously, right? That's not to say we don't get hyped up, but we learn to block it out and focus strictly on the facts much more rapidly, almost simultaneously. And maybe that's through my experience as a physician, right? Working in the ER in my training, and people coming in with gunshot wounds. And so you can't be all like, oh my God, this is crazy. You got to address the bleeding issues. Literally, pun intended. Got to save a life. I don't got a time to deal with, oh my God, this is a crazy scenario. So people that can get to the facts and accept objectively what is going on, quote, good or bad, and respond faster, actually get an advantage. And that's why it compounds. Well, because let's say two people get they're in the same situation, A and B, same bad news. A deals with it in a responsive way, thinks about it objectively. Okay, this is the plan. How do we fix it? What are the issues? Let's go. And B spends a week feeling sad and depressed and frustrated and, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Well, A's got a whole week head start. Another thing of bad news, same situation. Now B is at a deficit to A, right? A, again, responds quickly, thinks about it objectively. It is what it is. Don't put emotion on it. And then B, again, gets frustrated, depressed, spends a week mulling over it. Oh my God, I can't believe. Now they're 2 weeks separated in progress. And so you see how that compounds oppositely. Okay? So in the next instance, we're all looking for positive momentum. We're all driving towards our own personal goals, whatever they be. We're all doing all these things. It's not all rainbow, sunshine, and unicorns. You're going to get a lot of bad news, setbacks along the way. Learning how to deal with these things and learning how to get to an area, a headspace where you're responding and not reacting as fast as you can, hypercritical in your success, in maintaining the momentum. So looking things as it is what it is one of the tools that I've used to help me get to where I am. And where I am is not even close to where I want to be in terms of, quote, success, my own definition. But having that responsive mentality of it just is versus this is terrible, I can't believe it, this is, I'm all sad and depressed. It just is. And we deal with the consequence of is as it is, actually. Is so critical. Is very critical. And the only way to get to that point, besides, self-improvement and learning, is doing hard things. Just do the hard things, and you will get to a mentality of, fuck it just is. I lift every day, haven't missed a day, and now it's years. Do I want to go every day? No. Do I feel like it every day? No. Am I tired as fuck sometimes? Yeah, I walk around like 80% sore all the time. But I do it anyways because I know the benefit psychologically, physically, spiritually, why exercise matters. Do it anyways because it is what it is. I don't care about how it feels because if I don't work out, my health is going to deteriorate. So it just is. You just got to get done. It just is. Okay? So with that, learn how to look objectively to respond to bad news. And when you get bad news, the faster you get to it is what it is, the better off you're going to be. Glad to be back in the studio. I end my show as I end my day. Again, when I go to bed, before I close my eyes and I turn off my phone and head hits the pillow, I give thanks to God and the universe. Another day to be great, another day to be blessed, another day to hopefully have inspired one person to live to their fullest controllable potential. Hopefully that's you. Again, you can't experience a negative vibe or a negative thought or a negative feeling when you're in a state of gratitude. And what better way to go to sleep than in a state of gratitude? And with that, I want to thank you all. If you learned anything from this show or any other episode, again, we live on a karmic, or we do this on a karmic balance. So if you learned anything, repay that to me, share the show, comment, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, or else visit any other projects that I'm working on and then repay that karmic debt. And now we're back to even, and now I can give you more. So please do share the show. If you're knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. Be great today, but be even more grateful. And I look forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon.